So, I've spent the last 2 weeks watching just about every damn vampire movie across the 4 streaming platforms that I have access to. And what I've found is the vampire horror movies are few and far between. We're lacking desperately. Tonight, on 31 Days of Horror, we're going to discuss Blood Red Sky from Netflix. And then we're going to talk about the lack of decent vampire movies. When I say decent vampire movies, I mean horror vampire movies. So, Blood Red Sky. An international flight, a hijacking, and a woman fighting a mysterious virus that, if left untreated, changes her into an evil, mindless bloodsucker. This is a full-blown action movie that has some decent horror scenes in it. Decent vampire aspects, if you will. Blood and gore galore. And an interesting perspective on the main vampire. The rest of the other vampires are just your typical mindless, hunger-driven vampires, which that's a zombie. It's not a vampire. Vampires aren't mindless creatures, typically, which is an issue I have with a lot of movies now. So, an interesting perspective on the main vampire lady. She's basically our hero through the majority of the movie. What this movie lacks in scares and horror, it tries to make up for in action scenes. The vampires are all parkouring around the airplane, and it's worth a watch. It's not a bad movie by any means. Blood Red Sky takes real-world situations, real-world expectations, and pits them against a vampire infestation on board an international flight across the Atlantic. I don't really want to give too much away because it is worth seeing. Again, it's an action flick that has vampires in it, though. It's not a horror movie. There are some scary scenes. The vampires look interesting, but it's not a scary movie. So I'm just gonna half it. 2.5 out of 5 burritos for Blood Red Sky. If you're looking for something interesting, I guess. It's got unique vamps. The gore and kills are decent. It tries to fit way too much into a snakes on a plane premise. So, it's startling. It's not scary. And it's inventive in this perspective our main vampire takes. It lacks the atmosphere and the tone of a real vampire movie. But, yeah, 2.5 burritos out of 5. Check it out. It's, again, not a bad movie, but I've been looking for a horror movie, a vampire horror movie, and I haven't found anything that I would classify as horror. The problem with vampire movies, I think we've gone so far with the idea that we've removed the scary from them. Most vampire movies, most scary vampire movies, treat the vampires like zombies, mindless, hunger-driven monsters that will kill anything that comes near them. That's not what a vampire is. A vampire is a creature of the night that stalks and hunts. That's why vampires are scary. If you want to do mindless, hungry monsters, just do a goddamn zombie movie. Or you get the vampire movies that completely remove the horror aspects from the myth, creating dull, lackluster comedies or dramas with vampires thrown in to make it different. Of course, I blame Twilight, but in all honesty, the vampire had lost its edge long before Twilight came along, with only a few exceptions. Let the Right One In, 30 Days of Night, The Lost Boys back in the late 80s. Vampire movies have been lacking the scary aspect for a very long time. Interview with the Vampire is not a scary movie. It's a movie I love, but it's a drama. It's not scary. Bram Stoker's Dracula is not a scary vampire movie. It's a drama, almost an action. These movies aren't scary. 30 Days of Night is the most recent scary vampire, where these vampires come to this town and feast. And in that one, they're still not mindless, hungry monsters. They are simply going to the buffet, which is why that movie is set apart. And the vampires are unique. They're fucking vicious, and it's awesome. I don't know, maybe we've just reached a point where we've done everything when it comes to vampires. So there's nowhere left to go with the idea other than down. So we do love stories. So we do dramas. I mean, can the vampire be scary again? I don't know. I would really like to see an atmospheric, dark, terrifying step back in the vampire category of horror. Bring it back to, I mean, the closest that I've seen is Let the Right One In, and the original, not the American-made version. Although it was decent. It wasn't bad. But if you had seen the original, fucking remake Salem's Lot, for God's sakes, if you have no other ideas. Give me that house on the hill that no one goes in, and when someone finally fucking goes in, all hell breaks loose. I'm just tired of these movies like Night Teeth on Netflix. It's a decent movie, but it's not a scary movie. It's vampires driving around town, partying. Woo! Vampire's Assistant. It is a kid's movie. Vampires are not scary anymore. And it's disappointing because, again, I've been looking for 2 weeks. I was like, I've got all of the different monsters. I've got zombies, fucking aliens. I did a werewolf movie. I haven't done a vampire movie yet. And so I've been looking, and there's nothing. There's tons of vampire movies, don't get me wrong. On Amazon Prime, on Netflix, I've got Peacock, which, yeah, and HBO Max. Tons of vampire movies. None of them are fucking scary. None of them I would consider horror movies. And again, Blood Red Sky is not a horror movie. There are horror aspects in it, but it's Snakes on a Plane meets Die Hard 2 with vampires. But yeah, so anyways, thanks for joining us. Thanks for watching. Night 27 of 31 Days of Horror. Wahahahaha. I'm just disappointed that I could not find a scary vampire movie. If you haven't seen 30 Days a Night, watch it. It's a good goddamn movie. I can't speak for the sequels, haven't actually seen them, but 30 Days a Night is fucking epic. But yeah, tune in tomorrow. See what else we watch. The last 3 are going to be good. I got 3 good ones lined up. Got to end it well, you know? Anyways, later.